Hello, everybody. Day number 26. You are almost 1 month in, almost 2/3 through your 42-day, 6-week challenge. Today, upgrading the GHD primer kind of core warm-up setup to a weighted hyperextension or weighted GHD setup. I opted for the med ball option today. Still working that full range of motion. I chose to use a 20-pound med ball. You can always adjust that weight to whatever you have available or that you are comfortable with, especially when if you're doing a hyper extended sit-up. Most of you probably already have something that are anchoring down your feet, whether it be a couch, couple dumbbells, if you are using like a ball or something to put underneath your lower back to get that extra extension. Try and reach that object all the way up overhead, tap the floor, and come up, or at least as far as you feel comfortable, and as far as you can without putting too much pressure on the low back. So going through them. Reps are a little bit less on this one due to the weight being a little bit higher and obviously adding to it. And then going into this hanging knee or leg raise, if you are doing this at home and you don't have something to hang on to, same concept applies when you're working your when you're working with those non-hanging movements. If you have a weight in between your legs, if you're sitting on the end of your couch, whatever it might be, for that knee tuck, just put that weight in between the feet, working on that adduction, that compression strength in between the legs, really try and hold on to it. That usually ends up being more the challenge rather than actually lifting the weight itself. It's actually holding on to it. It ends up being a little bit more of a challenge here. When you get into these good mornings, a couple different ways you can go through these. Having it in front of you like this, up supported by the chest and near the chin, is the easier option. And then the further back you go, because they're kind of picking the ball up higher towards the chest and chin, putting the ball on your back, like where you'd put like a barbell for like a back squat or anything similar to that. That's actually end up being a little bit more of a challenge. I believe I showed this on round number 2, so you guys can go through it. If you need to, let's say it's too challenging, so you have a 25-pound dumbbell and that's all you have, and you're like, this is too heavy for me to do this with, you can always treat it more like an RDL where the weight is hanging or even down closer towards the stomach underneath the chest. That way there's a little less pressure on that low back, hamstrings, and posterior chain as you go through. So 2 to 3 rounds is this one, everybody. Again, you can manipulate the reps and manipulate the rounds as you feel fit and comfortable. By now you should be able to handle a little bit more of those higher rep schemes and challenge yourself, especially on that towards the end of that second round. If you know you're only going to do 2, aim for the higher side of the reps. If you really want to challenge, aim for 3 rounds of the high reps. Then you're getting into the extra real challenging work after you get through these primers. So going through these, again, take your time, work on full range of motion, control. It's not about speed on these. If I wanted speed, I would have set a time limit, and that's not what we want. We just want quality, full range motion control throughout all of these movements and reps. So good luck, everybody, going through these, and I'll see you guys on the flip side once we get through our primer and warm-up sets. All right, now we get into the crux of it for time. Still holding on to the weight, trying to do everything you can today weighted. These are med ball or weighted butterfly sit-ups, keeping the feet tight together in that butterfly stretch position. Feet down on the ground, knees out. Go reach all the way up overhead, tap that weight to the floor, and then back up. If you have any shoulder problems or anything that does limit your ability to go all the way up overhead, just keep that thing close to the chest and chin, just like we do on our anchored sit-ups. But these are meant to be with no weights holding down your feet. So challenge yourself to go through the 30s, 20s, and 10s without anything holding the feet down. If the feet come up, that is perfectly fine. Use the weight as a little bit more momentum to aid you in your reps. This is where we can kind of speed up and try not to pause too much going through everything, everybody. So challenge yourself with speed time frame and just go through. It's going to be a pump, especially after this first round. You got to think that this first set of everything, that is half of your reps. So if you at least get through for round one, the 30s, quickly, you're 50% of the way there and everything is downhill from that point. All right, next up for the 30s, these are called windshield wipers. I do recommend having something to anchor your upper body down with. I'm just holding on to my bed ball. Hold on to your couch, hold on to a pole, whatever it might be, or you can just stretch the arms out to the side. I will show that option. There you go, just like so. It lets you anchor down that upper body because the weight of your legs will kind of carry you side to side. When you do this one, legs up as straight as you can towards the sky, keeping the knees together, feet together, legs locked out and straight. Side to side, that is 1, coming back, and that would be 2, and so on. Okay, so you have 30 total reps here going through everything. If you do anchor your upper body down, it does make it a little bit easier. You can always bend the knees. Remember, shortening those levers, which would be your legs in this position at this point, would make things a little bit easier on your body and on your lower back, obliques, going through that twisting motion. With this specifically, it's like a balance of those Russian twists that we've been working on, going through everything. So you think about that, rather than doing the Russian twist where your upper body moves, then in the windshield wipers, the lower body moves. After 30s, going down to 20s, feel the pump, feel the lower abs start to engage, everything start to kind of burn out. Endurance, stamina starts to play into a factor, mental strength as you go through. So keep working through. Now we're into 20s. Remember, after you get through 20s of both, it's only 10s. So try and keep the hammer down. Keep pushing on that gas pedal all the way through. Limit the time that you are resting. Even if that means that you are maybe doing every other rep with the weight, that is always an option to kind of minimize the stress on your core going through everything. Because I know it is a challenge to go through 60 reps of 2 different movements quickly after the warm-up and primer moves, so that's what we want. Back into the windshield wipers. Try and go as far as you can, even a light little tap to the floor. Make sure they're just under control. You're not just letting the legs just fall down. The feet are staying tight together going through this. If you're just a champ and you want to kind of modify this to make it more of a challenge for you specifically, put a weight in between those feet. Put your ankle weights on, whatever it might be. Put that weight in between the ankles, legs, even knees. The lower it would get towards your hips, the less muscle control you would have to have. You have to have the same, you're still moving the same mass, right? But it's going to be on a shorter lever. So that's how we kind of modify things to just shorten stuff up. Bringing something closer to your core always makes it easier to move through. So burning through these last few reps, going through the 10s on both. Just keep working, everybody. You were nearly done. And we'll be moving on to day number 27 here as quickly as you can. Remember, move fast, move steady, full range of motion. Both moves today, going through it. Even if you get into these 10s, I know you're tired, try and just transition right to it and get to work. Good job today, everybody. Proud of you guys for getting through this. Remember, you're nearly a month in, and day 28, we'll redo again our measurements to track your progress to see where you're at. And then you'll be on to that second half. You were almost there. You see that light at the end of the tunnel. Good job.